I got a chance to speak in the U.S. Capitol probably half a dozen times. And one time I was doing a congressional staff briefing. They had staffers from different congressmen and some from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I'm giving my little talk. Afterwards, I get a phone call from the Washington Post. And the reporter said, well, I heard you're having a little Christian meeting there. Are you trying to push your Christian faith on our country? Like I'm having a little clandestine backroom meeting. And I had to just sort of chuckle, and I asked the reporter, I said, well, tell you what, can you tell me where equality came from? And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, equality didn't come from Islam, because in Islam, infidels are not equal to believing Muslims. Women are not equal to men, right? It takes two women to testify in court against one man. A woman gets half the inheritance that a man gets. A man can have 4 wives. A woman can't have 4 husbands. I don't know which woman would want 4 husbands, but there's not equality in Islam. There's not equality in India, where the caste system, where they have 7 major castes, and if you just happen to be born in the lowest caste, you are a Dalit and untouchable. You have to spend your whole life cleaning the toilets, taking care of the garbage. No matter how hard you work, you can never graduate and become a Brahmin. A Brahmin are near divinity in the Hindu belief system. No equality there. Equality didn't come from the Soviet Union, where in the atheistic countries, your worth is dependent on your utility. If you are useful to the state, you're worth more. If not, you're voted off the island, the survivor program stuff. Well, in America, you're equal. Not because you're a Muslim male, not because you're a Brahmin in the highest caste, and not because you're useful to the state. Why are you equal? Well, the Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal and endowed by a creator. Goes back to the Bible, goes back. Harry S. Truman, in his inaugural address in 1949, said, we believe all men are created equal because we're created in the image of God. See, Islam says Allah has no image. In Hinduism, there's 300 million different gods, so which one are you in the image of? In atheism, there is no God. So the fundamental idea is you're equal before the law because you're equal before a creator. This is the heritage that our founders had. This is the heritage that Lincoln referred to. This is why we're here. We care because created means the moment that that little cell turns into 2 cells, there's life there. It's a human life, no matter how small. And I love the t-shirt that someone has, that I was once a fetus. We all were little bitty people and then become bigger, bigger, bigger. It's a great land, but we need to keep it that way. Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Someday we're going to be dead, and it's our kids that are going to inherit this place. And it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to plot the graph and see where it's headed. If we don't stand up for the unborn, if we don't stand up for values and morals, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing that keeps that car from sliding off the cliff. Within the past lifetime, within the last 100 years, 80 million people were murdered in communist China. 60 million were killed in communist Soviet Union. We had the French Revolution that killed tens of thousands. Pol Pot killed millions in Cambodia. We're not talking, super ancient history here. The potential for human nature to do evil to other human beings is bottomless. It can get really, really bad unless there are those that are willing to stand up and say every human life is valuable. And we need to respect it because each person is made in the image of God. But you know what? We can be hopeful. Out of all the 6,000 years of recorded human history, the good Lord decided for you to be born and alive right now. And I don't believe He's left you here powerless. I believe He has put you here. He slapped you on the back and said, get in the game. This is what you're known for. Now, I always sort of imagine in my mind the future. Someday you're going to be dead. And I believe by the grace of God, you're going to be in heaven. And when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, with no less days to sing His praise than when we just begun. Imagine you've been in heaven 10,000 years. That'd be pretty neat, right? You're walking along the streets of gold, and maybe you get a chance to meet Moses. And maybe he'll invite you over to his place. Now, I don't know what it's like, but there is a verse that says, in my Father's house are many mansions, so I bet Moses will have a pretty nice place. He'll probably have one of those big fireplaces where the logs don't burn out. Get it, the burning bush in the wilderness didn't burn up in the logs in the fireplace. And anyway, I heard someone say, in heaven you'll be able to travel as fast as you think, and I'll probably show up late. My wife will say, where were you? I say, I was thinking about something else. I don't know. But imagine being there. Maybe like today, just a small group, maybe a little bit warmer. But imagine you're there and you just can't help yourself. And you say, hey, Moses, can you get up on the steps here and tell us the story again? What was it like? And he'll say, well, I was 80 years old, and Pharaoh, the most powerful military leader in the world, probably the 18th dynasty of Egypt, was charging in at us with these chariots and the swords, and we were unarmed. And I just stood there with my staff, and I said, God, use me to make a difference. And the waves came in and swallowed up Pharaoh's chariots. We're going to say, wow. Then we're going to look around and see David and say, David, tell us your story. And he'll say, well, this thug Goliath was mocking our God and our faith and our country for 40 days, and these grown-ups were too chicken. And I said, well, enough of them. I'm going to do something. And I went out with my little sling and hit him in the head and took his own sword and chopped his head off. And we're going to say, wow. One by one, Gideon and the Apostle Paul and Deborah and all of them. And then everybody's going to look at you and say, you, we haven't heard from you yet. What did you do when it was your turn to be on earth? Tell us what was going on. Tell us the courage and faith that you had to stand up against injustice and for righteousness. And I don't want to squirm in my seat and say, can you call on somebody else for a minute? Let me think about this. No, I want to say, let me tell you what they were doing. They were killing babies. They were, changing marriage. They were doing everything. And I said, I'm going to stand up. I don't know all the stuff they know. I just have my little sling. I'm just going to let the Lord use me. If anybody's around when I die, I'll tell them to put on my gravestone, not ability, but availability. You make yourself available, and the Lord will add the ability. So I look forward to the day that we're all up there and you get to tell your story, and we'll remember together being here this day. Thank you so much. God bless you.